April already. Wow. So currently you guys will be doing your practicum, finishing up your major practicum, or you're finishing up your first or mini practicum. So my goal for today's video is to go through some interview questions that are mostly asked in social work jobs. So let us get started. So I wrote this guy in June of 2020, and I have sent it to a lot of people, and they find this interview guide to be very, very helpful when preparing for an interview. So if you are preparing to get a job right after you finish your social work education, it is important that you apply, and it is important for you to prepare for your interview as well. So we are going to go through this fairly quickly, and I'm also going to post the document. Google, the description below this video is going to have a link to my document that I'm using for this video. So sample resume, sample cover letter, what else, and the interview guide, so that you can have it for your record. Okay, so without further ado, let us get started. I'm gonna be looking at my laptop because I have the file open there. I will try to be as fast as possible because this is like a 10 pages document. So just for you to know that this interview guide is can be used for social work or for any human profession. Okay, so it can also be used for nursing. It can be used for literally any caring profession. So it is important for you to know that the question that I'm going to talk about in this interview also depends on the area that you're going to be working. So there are some questions. Make sure that you prepare for your interview with focus on the population that you're going to be working with, and also researching the population you're working with at the same time as researching the organization that is interviewing you. So what I'm trying to say is that when you apply for a job, the job description is very, very important for you to go through it so that you can prepare for your interview. Read what is expected of you for that job title, and then you are able to prepare for your interview that way. Okay. So when I got my job in mental health, these are the questions that I was asked. Okay, and I'm hoping that this is similar to other position as well in social work. So the first question is, tell me about yourself. So tell me about self. It has to be very brief. You know, you can tell them about your name, if you're an immigrant, your where you did your practicum, and you don't really need to go into details of what your practicum is all about. So just make it short and sweet. And yeah. So the second question is that, what are your weaknesses and strengths? Okay, so there's nobody that doesn't have weakness, or that don't say you don't have any weakness, especially as a first grad, as a new grad. There's going to be some sort of weakness that you will have, that you identify while doing your major practicum, or that you identify while doing your mini practicum. So if you want to talk about your weakness and strength, you might talk about communication skills. You may talk about collaborative work, teamwork. You can talk about time management. You can talk about the ability to critically think, and projects. You know, you are good with group work, you're good with couple session, and you're good with doing family tree, and stuff like that. Maybe troubleshooting, you're good at solving problems. So make sure you talked about those skills that you have. At the same time, you talk about the weakness that you would like to work on, why if you get offer for that job. Okay, so it is important for you to know that everybody is not perfect, and we are all learning in our job every day. So it is important for you to talk about your weakness and your strength, so that your organization can better support you to be successful in your new role as a social worker. Yeah. So the third question is, can you discuss the theories that will be applicable in the work that you do with the agency that you are going to be working with? So the theories that you're going to be talking about is going to be relevant to the population that you're working with. It's going to be relevant to the organization's goal. It's going to be relevant to the organization vision and mission statement. So for example, in mental health, we use strength-based theory. We use indigenous and culture focused theory. We use trauma informed theory and practice. We use anti-oppressive theory. So for example, in mental health, we work with a lot of vulnerable people. So people who have mental health diagnoses, they are vulnerable, and we work with people of LGBT, immigrants, children, youth. So it is important for you to be able to explain the theory and how it relates to the population that you're working with, right? Yeah, so with that being said, there's motivational interviewing skills as well, strength-based theory, there's cognitive behavioral theory as well as practice. So if you're doing an interview for a counseling position, it is obvious that you're going to be talking about CBT, DBT, those kind of counseling approaches that you use during counseling sessions. So the fourth question, because I'm running out of time, is why are theories important? So you can't just memorize the theories. You have to be able to explain why the theory is important in practice. Theory informs the practice and the work that we do with working with individuals, working with families. So it is important for you to talk about why is it important for you to use anti-oppressive practice while working with children. Why is it important to use anti-oppressive practice while working with your client generally? For example, when you are a clinician and you're working with clients who have mental health concerns, it is obvious that we have professional power over our client. So it is important to be reflective of that power and not misuse it in the work that we do with clients. So it is important for you to understand in depth what that theory means and how you're going to bring it into work with the people that you're working with, the people that you're caring for, or the people that you are helping. Yeah. So the next question is, tell us about the time you made a good use of time management. So this kind of question, you can actually give an example of how you use time management in your previous jobs. You can give an example of how you use time management in your internship or in your practicum, or when you were doing your master's, or while you're in school, while you are going to school and working at the same time. You can use it as an example. Providing example is important. It is really good so that you can just, go straight to the point and give them an example, and then you don't have to spend a lot of time addressing the question. Yeah. So the question 6 says, tells us the time you had to prioritize. How did it go? So if you're working in mental health, or if you're working in a position that is pressured, there's need for you to actually prioritize the work that you do. Then they want to know if you have critical thinking in prioritizing the work that you do. So you can also provide an example using previous work experience, how you prioritize your time. So for example, I'm going to give you an example. When it comes to prioritizing documentation, or when it comes to prioritizing your clients, safety comes first, right? Safety comes first. If you want to book a client appointment and see you received a referral, and the doctor wrote in the referral that there's a suicide risk or something, it is obvious that you will want to contact that client right away, compared to the referral that say, client is fine, just need more support to connect to counseling. So that is an example of time management as well as critical thinking. Another example is using your calendar, like daily task. Doing your daily tasks, marking it off, because when you start to work, you are going to have your own caseload. You are going to have your caseload means the amount of clients that is going to be following you to receive services. So the 7th question is, what is your understanding of family-centered care? So family-centered care means being able to provide care to our clients as well as in consideration with their family as well. For example, children, if you're doing counseling with children and youth, most often there's involvement with their parents. To collaborate appointment, to get that data information during intake and assessment, so that you can figure out how to help the child, the youth, as well as their family as a whole family system. So that is what family-centered care means. You can also give an example of what family-centered care means to the person that is interviewing you. So the next question is, you need to make sure that you know the mission, the vision, value statement of the agency that is interviewing you. That is where the research comes, and you need to research the agency that is interviewing you and know a little bit about what are they offering, what population are they targeting. Okay, because they will definitely ask you that as well. Question 9, what is your understanding of mental health services act? Or what is the understanding of child and family services act? Because there's different acts that guides the work that we do in some human services job. Mental health act is like a document that basically talked about if clients are having mental health distress and they are not able to make decision, there's a session that can actually admit them against their will. So if you are working in mental health or you are doing an interview that in mental health, either inpatient in the community or outpatient, you need to understand what mental health act means. If you are working in child and family services, you need to understand child and family services act, child protection act. Yeah. Then the next one is make sure that your what is it called, your other learning outside of school, those certificates that you took, CPR, assist, apply suicide intervention techniques and certificate, mental health first aid, you are understanding how to provide crisis intervention for clients before they get the next or continuous services. You need to understand that as well. Suicide risk assessment. How do you do assessment? How do you do reassessment? They will ask question about documentation. How do you document? Do you have any issue documenting before? And stuff like that. The next one is, what is your understanding of clients' rights and responsibility? Clients have the right to refuse treatment, right? They have the right to to provide get confidential services, and at the same time you have to let your clients know that there's limit to confidentiality, right? So the fact that there's confidential services being provided to them, if they are at risk and we are trying to do a safety plan, it is important for the clinician to tell the clients that, you know, if you're at risk for yourself or others, confidentiality may be broken, so that they are aware of that information. There's also projects. Tell us how you advocated for a client in the past. So for example, you can provide an example on how you advocated for your client in your practicum, in your job, in a volunteer role. And so it will give the interviewer the understanding how that you really know how advocacy, what advocacy means to you as a worker, right? And as well as part of the work that we do in human services and in social work is that as advocacy aspect of care, being able to create voice and hard voice to help our clients meet their goal and as well as their well-being. Okay, so the next question is in regards to conflict resolution. How would you, because when you work in an organization, you're working with different people. You're working with people with different personality, behavior, attitude. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be both. So it is important for employers to have an idea of if you have conflict resolution skills. There's also course you can take on conflict resolution. Most organizations will train you conflict resolution skills as part of the orientation. So anyway, when you're talking about conflict resolution, you can give an example of how you resolve conflict in the past in your job. For all the jobs I have worked, there's conflicts. As a person of color, all the job I have worked in Canada, there's one conflict or the other, but there's a way I handle those conflicts in a professional manner. Like, I don't go on Facebook putting people on Facebook and putting their name and swearing. So there's a different approach to handling conflict at work that we make sure that you're working in a safe and healthy environment. So again, the next question is regards to client rights, confidentiality, as well as privacy. Talk to your client about privacy. Privacy is very important when it comes to accessing services. And also when they are interviewing you, your interviewer wants they want to know if you have a good knowledge when it comes to privacy and confidentiality. Then the next question is, how do you take care of yourself? You know, the work that we do can be very, very stressful, compassion fatigue, and you can burn out easily. Usually the first 2 years, just because you are a new grad and you are trying to get your stuff together and you're still learning as well in your new role. So there's tendency to burn out, and there's tendency for you not to take that vacation because you're still learning. So they want to know if you know the importance of self-care, because the same self-care we need to also preach it to our client. So if you're preaching self-care to your client and you don't even do it yourself, then we have a problem. There's a problem. So make sure you talk to them about how self-care, what self-care means to you, and how you also do self-care. You know, I'm a very, very big fan of self-care, and I can talk about self-care from morning to night. Yeah, anyway, yeah, the next question is, what is mental health and mental illness? That question I was asked. You will be asked if you are in counseling, if you are working in hospital. Mental health, the definition of mental health and mental illness is very different. When I did my interview, I lost my thoughts. So I literally just juggled one definition in my brain and it worked. So that is why it's not good to memorize. You actually need to understand these terms so that you are able to provide the definition of what they mean in your own words. Then the next question is, they will ask you questions related to continuing education, if you've taken CPR and stuff, and what supervision means to you. Supervision is very, very important as a new grad. It is very, very important because you are literally entering your entry-level job. So you don't have any experience, you don't have as many skills compared to somebody who has been in the profession for 1 decade, for 10 years, right? So it is important for you to talk to your interview that supervision is going to be important to you as a new grad. And how often you would like to be supervised. Do you want to be supervised every 1 month? Do you want to be supervised every 4 months? Do you want to be supervised every 6 months? So that depends on how you want to be supervised and how you want your supervision to go. You have to have knowledge of social issues like poverty, homelessness, immigration, racism, classism, sexism, the issue that certain marginalized people face, in that the issues that they are more likely to face. You need to have an understanding of that, because, for example, if you are working in an indigenous community, you need to have an understanding of addiction, mental health, homelessness, poverty. And you know, it is also important to know that social issues, sometimes they don't stand alone. There's combination of all of them together. For example, somebody may have mental health issue and may have difficulty with housing. They may have difficulty, they may be struggling with homelessness, right? So again, it's together. They may be using substance to cope with their mental health. Again, that is addiction, mental health, substance use, and homelessness. So you need to have an understanding of social issue. You need to have an understanding of cultural competency, cultural safety, and cultural knowledge, especially when it comes to working with diverse population like immigrants, refugees. If you are working with indigenous people, you need to have an understanding of culture, of spirituality. What does spirituality means to these people, right? And how can you be culturally aware and culturally competent so that you are providing the care that is safe to the clients that are diverse, right? So the next question is, make sure you have the opportunity to also ask your interview panel questions. So ask them questions. It can be wages. It can be any questions that you have even before your interview. Make sure you ask them, because that will give you the opportunity to accept the offer or decline the offer. But if you don't ask the question, you have no idea, it will not give you the informed decision to be able to accept the offer or reject the offer. Yeah, I think that is the questions I have for now. If you're working in rural areas, some interviewer may ask you if you are comfortable with flying, right? Because sometimes you can fly to other northern community to provide services, human services, right? Crisis intervention, stuff like that. And also, another questions that they might ask you if you're working in another area is, actually, I found that question very funny when I was asked. And I was asked if I'm comfortable driving in gravel road. So they will ask you if you're comfortable driving in gravel road. And the reason why that is being asked is because it doesn't make any sense why they like hiring you and then you got to the northern area and then you quit your job a week after because you are not comfortable driving on a gravel road. That is a waste of time and resources, and that could be avoided if they know that you are not comfortable driving on a gravel road. Then they would not even bother giving you the job offer. So anyway, I'm going to post this interview guide. My video is more than 20 minutes long already. I could not address all the thing I typed in 10 pages, but I am hoping that this interview guide will help you to prepare for your interview. Again, don't forget to research the organization. Make sure that you sleep well. Make sure that you're ready. If it is a virtual interview, make sure your devices are plugged and charged and ready to go. If it is an office interview, make sure you know the location. Anyways, that is all that I have for today. You guys should have a very good week. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share this video, and also comment below if you have any questions. For my old subscribers, I just want to say thank you so much for all your support, and I really appreciate all the subscribe and the comment and the like and the share. I really appreciate. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week ahead.